The alien palace was like nothing Jason had ever seen before. The walls shimmered with glowing vines, and strange floating lights danced in the air like fireflies. As the only human ambassador invited to the great unity festival of the Zalari Empire, Jason knew he had to be careful. He had one rule: do not touch anyone, especially the royal family. The Zalari were sensitive about physical contact. Touching someone of high rank without permission was considered offensive, or even dangerous. But Jason didn't expect that just walking down the main hall would change everything. He was admiring the strange architecture when someone turned a corner too fast. A figure in flowing robes bumped into him, lightly, just a brush of skin. Jason looked up and froze. She was tall, graceful, and unlike anyone he had ever seen. Her skin was pale blue, glowing faintly, and her eyes were golden, like twin suns. She looked young but had an aura of nobility around her. On her chest, a strange gem was embedded into her skin, a soulmate indicator, glowing softly with a calm silver light. Until now, the moment their skin touched, that calm silver light exploded into red. Bright, burning red. Gasps filled the air. The hall fell silent as the glow grew stronger, pulsing like a heartbeat. Everyone around them stopped and stared. Even Jason could feel the strange warmth moving through his body. The alien girl took a step back, her golden eyes wide in shock. She looked down at the gem on her chest, now glowing red-hot, then looked at Jason. This is not possible," she whispered. Jason blinked. "What's not possible? I didn't mean—" "Do you know who I am?" she said, her voice shaking. "No. Should I? I'm Princess Carol, and this gem," she pointed to the indicator, which now glowed with a steady red light, "only turns red when it finds a perfect soulmate." Jason took a step back. "A soulmate? Me? That can't be right." But Carell wasn't listening. Her eyes were locked on the gem as if seeing a ghost. Around them, guards began to move, their weapons half drawn. One of them shouted, "He touched the princess! Arrest the human!" Jason raised his hands. "Wait, it was an accident." Carell didn't say anything. She looked frozen, torn between confusion and fear. But she didn't speak in his defense. The guards grabbed Jason roughly, pulling his arms behind him. He didn't resist. He was too stunned to move. As they dragged him away, he looked over, his shoulder. Carell was still standing there, the red glow on her chest still shining bright. She touched it gently with her fingers, then whispered something only she could hear. Why would the stars choose a human? Jason sat in a cold cell deep below the palace. The walls were made of smooth black stone that seemed to hum softly. He had no idea what just happened. One moment he was enjoying the beauty of the palace, the next he was accused of, being a soulmate? He didn't even believe in that stuff. A soft sound broke the silence. The cell door opened, and a figure stepped inside. It was her, Princess Carell. She walked in slowly, her face still unreadable. "I had to see you," she said quietly. Jason stood up. "Look, I didn't mean to break your rules. I didn't mean to touch you." "I know," she said, stepping closer, "but the indicator doesn't activate by mistake. It's been dormant for years. Not even my fiancé could make it react." Jason raised an eyebrow. "You're engaged?" "I was," she replied. They stood there in silence for a moment. Then Carell asked, "Do humans believe in fate?" Jason gave a dry laugh. "Some do. Some think it's just a story people tell to feel better." Carell nodded slowly. "Our people believe the soulmate indicator was created by the ancient ones. It chooses only once in a lifetime, and when it chooses, it cannot be undone." Jason frowned. "And it chose me?" "Yes," she said, her voice low. "It chose a human. That has never happened before." Just then, a loud alarm rang through the hallways. Carell looked toward the door. "They're coming," she said. "The High Council wants to put you on trial. Some think you've cursed me, others believe you're dangerous." Jason looked confused. What about you? What do you think? Carell looked him in the eye. I think I need to know the truth, and I think you deserve to live long enough to find it with me. She reached into her sleeve and handed him a small silver device. Tonight, when the lights go out, press this and run. I will find you. Jason stared at the device. Why are you helping me? Carell turned to leave. At the doorway she paused. Because the stars chose you. And maybe I want to know why. The moon of Zilara hung low in the sky as the palace lights dimmed one by one. Silence crawled across the ancient halls, but deep underground, Jason's mind was wide awake. He held the small silver device Princess Carell had given him. His thumb hovered over the button. His heart pounded. Was this real? Was this trap? Or was she really trying to help him escape? Suddenly, a soft hum came from the bracelet, then click. His cell door slid open on its own. Jason didn't wait. He ran. Quiet steps, careful breaths. Just as Carell had promised, there were no guards in sight. But outside the palace walls, the truth was already spreading like wildfire. In the Hall of Judgment, the elders stood in a wide circle. Some wore golden robes. Others were wrapped in black ceremonial cloth. At the center stood Princess Carell, hands folded in front of her, head lowered. The indicator has never failed before, one elder hissed. But to choose a human? That cannot be allowed. It is an insult to our bloodline, another said. A glitch, a malfunction. Carell looked up, calm but firm. It did not malfunction, it chose. I felt it. Her fiancé, Lord Varex, stepped forward. He was tall, armored, and proud. Then the indicator is broken, he said coldly. Or, the human has used forbidden tech to trick it. Carell's hands tightened. He didn't even know what it was. It doesn't matter, said the head elder. The law is clear. No outsider may bond with the royal bloodline. The punishment is death. Back in the city outskirts, Jason ran through the neon-lit alleys of the alien capital. The streets were quiet, but danger lurked everywhere. Strange cameras blinked from the walls. Floating drones scanned for fugitives. Just then, a cloaked figure stepped from the shadows. Human, the voice whispered. Come with me. Quickly, Jason hesitated, but the voice added, She sent me. Carell. He followed. They rushed into a hidden tunnel beneath a closed shop. Inside, other aliens stared at him, some with suspicion, others with curiosity. Why are you helping me? Jason asked. The cloaked alien removed her hood. She was young, with lavender skin and 3 glowing eyes. We are the Silent Ones, she said. We believe the old ways are not always right. If the stars chose you, there must be a reason. Meanwhile, Carell sat alone in her chamber. Her indicator still glowed red, brighter than ever before. She touched it gently. Why you? She whispered to herself. Why now? Suddenly, her maid rushed in. Princess, he escaped. The guards are furious. Lord Varex has declared a planet-wide manhunt. Carell stood slowly. Her voice was cold now. Then we must act faster. At dawn, across the city, screens flickered to life. A public message echoed in every corner. By royal decree, the human known as Jason will be captured and executed. He has corrupted the sacred bond. Let it be known, no outsider shall ever claim our royal soul. Jason saw the broadcast from a hiding spot. His face turned pale. So, that's it, he muttered. They're going to kill me. But the Silent Ones had a different plan. We'll get you off-world, the lavender-eyed girl said. There's an old launch pad in the mountains. If we make it by nightfall, you'll be free. Jason nodded slowly, but his thoughts were not on escape. They were on her. That night in secret, Carell met with one of the temple's ancient keepers. I want to test the bond, she said. I want to prove this isn't a mistake. The old keeper's eyes widened. That has not been done in hundreds of years, Princess. If the test fails, your soul will burn. Carell nodded. Then let it burn. But I must know. Back in the forest path, Jason and his guides moved silently toward the mountain. But someone was already waiting. Lord Varix, with a full squad of soldiers. Jason was surrounded. End of the road, human. Varix growled. You ran well, but it ends here. Jason raised his hands. I don't want to fight. Varix laughed. Good. I want this clean. I'll kill you with my own hands. You see, Carell was mine, and I don't share. But just before he struck, a sudden explosion shook the ground. Smoke filled the air. From the shadows stepped Carell, her robes covered in dust, her hands glowing with strange energy. She shouted, He is not yours to kill, and I'm not yours to command. Varix turned, stunned. You came for him? I came, Carell said, to rewrite fate. The forest of Zilara wasn't just wild, it was alive. Its trees whispered without wind. Its roots moved at night. And creatures hid behind glowing leaves, watching. Locals called it the Whispering Death. No one entered unless they had a death wish. And that's exactly where Carell dragged Jason after saving him from Lord Varix. Are you sure about this? Jason asked, ducking under a thick blue vine pulsing with light. Carell didn't slow down. It's the only place. They won't follow. Even Varix fears this forest. Jason looked around. Everything shimmered. The air smelled like metal and honey. Somewhere far off, a scream echoed. Too high to be human, too deep to be animal. Yeah, Jason muttered. I see why. Hours earlier, they'd fled the ambush. Smoke bombs, misdirection, and Carell's secret powers had helped them escape. But now soldiers were everywhere, skies buzzing with drone patrols. Jason had one question in his mind. Why did she come back for me? Carell, he said as they walked, you could have stayed safe in the palace. She stopped and turned. And let them kill the only person my soul reacted to? No. I may not understand it yet, but I feel something. Jason looked at her. So what now? We just keep running forever? Carell sighed. No. We reach the heart tree. It's deep in this forest. If the bond is real, it will respond. Jason frowned. And if it doesn't? She gave him a sad smile. Then we both die. That night, under strange glowing stars, they made camp in a hollow tree, shaped like a spiral. Jason lit a small fire using human tech. Carell watched, fascinated. You humans, she said. You always create light, even in darkness. Jason smiled. It's what we do. Adapt, survive. Carell nodded. Your kind, you're not what we expected. He looked at her. What did you expect? A threat. A danger. But you're just stubborn, kind, strange. She paused, then added, and maybe meant for me. Jason looked at her glowing red Soulmate crystal. Still pulsing, they didn't speak after that. The silence said enough. But deep in the forest, something else had noticed them. A beast, ancient and unseen, began to move. It was called the Valgren, a shadow predator that hunted soul-bonded pairs. It was drawn to the energy of connected arts. And now, it had found one. The next morning, Jason and Carell climbed higher into the forest hills. They passed trees with faces, rivers that flowed upward, and strange flowers that whispered memories. Jason touched one and for a moment heard Carell's voice from childhood, crying softly. What was that? He asked. She touched his arm. This forest shows truth. Be careful what you touch. Suddenly a loud growl echoed through the air. The trees shivered. Birds scattered. A terrible roar came from behind. Carell froze. Valgren, she said. We have to run. They ran, through thorn tunnels, across floating stones. Jason helped Carell climb when she stumbled. She pulled him to safety when a root nearly swallowed his leg, but the creature was close. Jason looked back and saw glowing green eyes, claws like blades, and a mouth full of twisting tendrils. This thing isn't from your planet, is it? Jason gasped. KRL shook her head. No, it's older. It hunts soul bonds to feed. They reached a cliff edge. Below, a glowing lake with the heart tree at its center. Its branches looked like starlight frozen in midair. KRL pointed. We're close, we just have to jump. Jason stared. You're joking. She smiled. Do you trust me? He looked into her golden eyes. Then nodded. They jumped. They hit the water hard, but it wasn't cold. It was warm, almost welcoming. Jason felt calm. KRL pulled him toward the center of the lake where the heart tree stood. Its roots stretched into the sky. Its leaves pulsed in rhythm with KRL's chest gem. The Valgren stood on the cliff above, howling in rage. KRL stood in front of the tree. If the bond is true, the heart tree will answer. Jason stepped beside her. Suddenly, the red glow of her crystal spread to Jason's chest, a red mark forming over his heart. The tree lit up like a sun. A massive shock wave blasted through the lake, sending the Valgren flying backward into the forest. KRL turned to him, eyes wide. The tree, it chose you too. Jason looked down at his chest, where the red symbol now pulsed. He whispered, What does this mean? KRL took his hand, trembling. It means, you're not just my soulmate. You're now one of us. The heart tree still glowed behind them, casting soft red light over the silent lake. The mark on Jason's chest, shaped like a broken circle, pulsed in sync with the gem embedded in KRL's skin. For a long moment, neither spoke. They simply stared at each other, stunned. Jason finally broke the silence. That felt like lightning and peace at the same time. KRL nodded slowly. The heart tree doesn't lie. We're truly bonded. You're now part of the sacred line. Jason laughed nervously. Well, no one back home's gonna believe this. KRL didn't smile. That's not the problem. The real problem is bonding with an outsider is forbidden. Even if the tree chose you, the council won't accept it. They'll call it a trick, a danger. Jason looked down at his glowing chest. So, we're not just running for our lives anymore. We're proof that the old ways are broken. KRL took a deep breath. Exactly. We've become a threat to the Empire. Later that night, they found shelter inside a tree whose trunk had been hollowed by time and wind. Inside, glowing moths clung to the walls like stars in a tiny galaxy. Jason patched a wound on KRL's arm. She winced, but didn't pull away. You didn't have to help me, she said softly. Jason looked up. Neither did you. But you did. She looked at him for a long second. I didn't believe the stories about humans. I thought your kind were cruel, cold. Jason smirked. We can be. But sometimes we're just stupidly loyal. KRL chuckled, really laughed, for the first time since they met. Then the you laugh faded into silence. She leaned against the wall, tired. There's something else, she whispered. Something I haven't told you. Jason leaned forward. What? KRL hesitated. Before you touched me, the council had already arranged my final bond ceremony with Lord Varex. Jason's face hardened. So I ruined your wedding? No, she said. You saved me from a prison I didn't even know I was in. Meanwhile, far away in the royal citadel, Lord Varex stood before the elders. The heart tree reacted, he growled. Our scouts saw the light from miles away. The human is now soul-marked. The head elder's face turned to stone. Then he must be destroyed immediately, before the people learn the truth. Varex nodded. I will hunt them myself, and this time, I will bring her back, or bury them both beneath the forest. Back in the wilderness, Jason and KRL reached the ruins of an ancient observatory the next morning. KRL said it was once used by her ancestors to speak with the stars. Jason stared at the carvings on the walls. One image caught his eye, It showed a figure with a red-marked chest standing beside a Zalari queen. Both were holding hands. Both had stars above their heads. Jason pointed. "That's us." Karel nodded. They said it was just myth, a prophecy about two soulbound from different worlds who would change the future. Jason raised an eyebrow. "So now we're part of a legend?" "No," Karel said quietly. "Now we are the legend." But peace didn't last. That night, as they lay near the fire, Jason jolted awake to a strange humming. Karel opened her eyes too. "Do you feel that?" A soft vibration moved through the ground. The light from their bond crystals dimmed slightly, then flickered. Karel's face turned pale. No, this can't be happening." Jason sat up. "What is it?" "The soul drainers," she whispered. "They're forbidden machines from the war times. They hunt soul bond energy. If someone has activated them..." Jason stood, jaw clenched. "Then someone knows exactly where we are." Suddenly, a shriek echoed across the forest. A beam of red light shot through the trees, scorching a trail in the soil, headed straight for them. Karel screamed, "Run!" The soul drainer's beam had missed them, barely. Jason and Karel ran for hours, their legs burning, hearts racing. Behind them, the trees crackled with fading energy and distant howls. The machine wasn't hunting them by scent or sight. It was tracking their bond. "We can't keep running," Jason gasped. "Where do we go now?" Karel's eyes locked on the horizon. A towering mountain loomed in the distance, its peak covered in glowing vines and ancient spires. "The Temple of Echoed Truth," she said. "It's the only place left where we can prove the bond is real, or end it forever." Jason stared. "End it?" Karel didn't answer. As they reached the temple gates, the structure felt ancient and alive. The stone walls hummed with buried power. Symbols glowed faintly, reacting to Karel's presence. The great door opened without touch. Inside, cool air and silence wrapped around them. Jason glanced at Karel. "You've been here before?" She nodded. "When I was a child, I came here with the elders. They said this temple judges truth. Only soul-bonded pairs can activate its inner chamber." Jason touched the wall. It pulsed beneath his hand. "Then let's prove it." Unseen above them, a tiny drone zipped silently into a crevice in the ceiling. Far across the mountains, Lord Varex watched the live feed, arms folded. "So they seek the temple," he muttered. "Let them. It will become their tomb." Inside the temple, Karel and Jason stepped into the trial hall. At the center stood a floating platform with two circular stone pads, one for each of them. Karel spoke the old words. "By the light of our hearts, we offer truth to the stars." The platform glowed. Suddenly, tendrils of light wrapped around them both. Their minds were pulled into a shared vision, a mental space that only bonded souls could enter. Jason opened his eyes to find himself on Earth, his childhood home. Karel stood beside him, confused. "Is this your memory?" Jason nodded slowly. His old bedroom, the smell of his mother's cooking, the sound of laughter, it all came rushing back. Karel touched a photo. "You had a family." Jason turned away. "Had." Suddenly the scene shifted. Now Karel's memory took over. A vast palace garden. She stood as a young girl, watching from a distance as her parents argued with the council. "She is not pure-blooded," one elder shouted. "Her mother was of the Starborn tribe." Karel's voice cracked. "I wasn't supposed to remember this." Jason reached for her hand. "I'm glad I saw it. Now I understand why you were always carrying something heavy inside." The vision began to collapse. Too much emotional energy. Suddenly, a dark presence entered the mental space. A twisted version of Lord Varex appeared. "This bond is weakness. I will shatter it." Jason growled. "Get out of my head." Varex's shadow form lunged at Karel, screaming, "You were promised to me?" Jason stood between them. The platform outside glowed brighter. Back in the real world, Karel and Jason jolted awake. The temple now bathed in golden light. The bond had been tested. The ancient voice of the temple echoed, "The bond is true. But beware. Not all who stand with you wear the face of a friend." Karel turned to Jason, her eyes full of tears and wonder. "We passed, but before they could celebrate, the great doors slammed shut. Footsteps echoed. From the shadows, Varex appeared, not alone. Behind him stood one of the rebels who had helped Jason escape back in the city. The girl with 3 glowing eyes. Jason stepped back. "You betrayed us?" She nodded coldly. "Not everything the stars choose one is meant to live," Karel shouted. "You used the soul drainers to track us." Varex laughed. "And now, thanks to your bond, I will destroy this temple, and both of you with it. The Empire will never accept this abomination." Just then the floor beneath them began to rumble. The heart tree's energy connected to the temple surged up through the stone, reacting violently to Varex's hatred. Vines burst from the ground, wrapping around the traitors. Varex screamed, "What is this?" Karel stepped forward, her red crystal now glowing gold at the edges. "You don't get to rewrite fate," she said. "You feared the prophecy. Now become part of it." Jason stood beside her. Together, they raised their hands. The temple responded. A blinding light filled the hall. When it faded, Varex and his betrayers were gone. Jason looked at Karel. "Did we just activate a divine execution system?" Karel smirked. "Something like that." Smoke still lingered inside the temple of echoed truths. Jason and Karel stood alone in the golden light, breathing hard. The bond mark on Jason's chest still glowed, but now it wasn't just red. It pulsed gold and white, a signal unseen for thousands of years. Karel's eyes widened. This is no longer just a soulmate bond." Jason stepped back. "What does that mean?" "It means we're not just bound. We've triggered the ancient pact, the one meant to unite entire species." Jason blinked. "Wait, so we just accidentally started an interstellar revolution?" Karel gave a small, tired smile. "No, we've become the reason it has to happen." Meanwhile, at the Grand Zilari Citadel, Elder Mazor slammed his staff into the floor. "The prophecy is real," the heart tree responded. The temple accepted the bond. Gasps filled the chamber, but another elder barked, "Then we kill them." "Before word spreads," others murmured nervously. Some looked ashamed. Some looked inspired. From the shadows a figure emerged. Lady Vila, Karel's aunt and once a powerful general. "Let the people choose," she said. "Let the Empire decide. Will we cling to dead laws or step into the future?" Half the room erupted in shouts. Civil war was no longer a rumor. It had begun. Back on the mountain, Karel and Jason trekked through misty cliffs, heading to an ancient communication spire. They needed to send one message, not just to the Zilari world, but to every species in the neutral zone. Jason adjusted a human-built device he had kept hidden all along. "You still have Earth tech?" Karel asked. Jason shrugged. "I always keep a backup plan. Even love needs a radio." They reached the tower. Karel stepped onto the platform and looked into the sky. "Help me speak to them. They won't listen to just me. They need to hear you too." Jason hesitated, then nodded. Together they activated the beacon. Across the stars, millions heard their message. "We are bonded, not by force, not by war, but by something older than Empire's choice. I am Jason of Earth. She is Karel of Zilara, and we are not afraid of what we've become. To those who believe love between worlds is wrong, come stop us. To those who believe love can save us, stand with us." The response was instant. On some planets, riots broke out. Supporters of the old laws demanded blood. On others, banners of unity were raised. Soldiers refused orders. Some alien warriors, including Karel's old bodyguard unit, switched sides. One Zilari pilot whispered, If the heart tree chose, who are we to say no? In a hidden base on the moon of Zira, Lady Vila rallied. Defectors, let the lovers live, she declared. Let them lead us into a galaxy where we don't hide behind fear. But in the black corridors of the warship Varnex, Lord Varex, badly burned but still alive, watched the news feeds. He slammed his fist into the table. They want love, he growled. I'll show them the cost of love. 3 days later, the skies above Zilara turned red. A massive fleet appeared, ships bearing the symbol of Varex's bloodline. It was more than just an army. It was a cleansing force designed to burn everything tied to the lovers' bond. Jason and Karel stood on a mountaintop watching the war begin. Jason clenched his jaw. This isn't just about us anymore. Karel touched her crystal. No, it never was. We're the symbol now, the spark. Behind them, warriors from both species, alien and human, began to gather. Some came in ships, some rode beasts. Some brought ancient weapons powered by forgotten tech. They all had one thing in common. They believed in the bond. Jason looked at the stars. I'm not a soldier, Karel smiled. Good. The galaxy's had enough of soldiers. What it needs is someone who refuses to give up. Jason turned to face the army. His hand found Karel's, and together they stepped forward to lead the first battle of a war that began because two people simply touched hands. The sky above Zilara burned red. Lord Varex's warships, sleek, dark, and humming with forbidden tech, formed a blockade around the planet. From orbit, they fired precision strikes meant to destroy rebel bases, disrupt communications, and wipe Jason and Karel from history. But they were already too late, because Jason and Karel were no longer just people. They were symbols. On the ground, soldiers from alien tribes, exiled nobles, human adventurers, and even former palace guards gathered under a new banner, a crimson gold spiral shaped like the merged bond crystal. Jason stood before them, armored in human nanoweave tech fused, with Zilari energy plating. His chest still glowed with the Soulmate mark, now steady, calm, and complete. Karel stood beside him in ceremonial warrior robes. Her crystal floated an inch above her chest, glowing like a mini-star. I never wanted to be a leader, Jason said to the crowd, but love made me one. Karel stepped forward. They want to erase our bond, but we're still standing, and together, we burn brighter than their fear. The army roared. In orbit, Lord Varex prepared the final strike. The null-core cannon, a weapon designed to sever soul bonds permanently. Target them, he ordered. Erase the link. Erase the rebellion. But something began happening. The heart tree responded. Its roots reached across the planet, glowing veins of energy forming a planetary shield. The same energy flowed into Jason and Karel, sinking. With their heartbeat, Jason gasped. I can feel everyone. Karel's eyes filled with tears. This is the soul network, the ancient bond between species that was buried in war. The bond we just awakened. Suddenly, the battlefield shifted. As Varex's troops landed, they began hesitating. Some Zilari soldiers dropped their weapons. One looked at Karel and said, You are the chosen, I will not fight you. But others still charged. Jason led from the front, dodging energy blasts, using a hybrid spear gifted by rebels. Beside him, Karel's movements were like poetry, each strike guided by her glowing crystal. But even love has a cost. In the middle of the battle, a second null-core blast struck near Karel. She screamed, falling to the ground. Jason ran. To her, her crystal flickered. No, stay with me, Jason begged, holding her tight. Karel's voice was weak. He aimed for the bond. It's fading. Jason looked up and without thinking placed his hand over her crystal, letting his own bond mark surge with power. The sky trembled, their energies combined, and the soulmate bond merged fully, lit, the sky like a second sun. In orbit, the null-core cannon overloaded and exploded. Lord Varex's ship was engulfed in fire. Back on the ground, the remaining enemies fell to their knees, blinded by the overwhelming pulse of unity. The war was over. Hours later, in a quiet field under the stars, Carell opened her eyes. Jason sat beside her, bruised and tired but smiling. "You came back," she whispered. He nodded. "The bond held. And so did you." Weeks later, a council was formed. Not of rulers, but of bonded pairs. From different species, different worlds. Jason and Carol stood at the heart of it all. Not as king and queen, but as the first bond, recognized by all. A living reminder that the soul doesn't care for race, planet, or law, only connection, only choice. And across the stars, the legend spread. When the alien princess touched the human, she was left speechless. But the stars were not. They spoke through her crystal and they whispered, "He is the one."